device is still online, still have access to the network. Just gonna start by talking a little bit about me. I'm a developer advocate with Autodesk, and my primary area is with Forge. And I'm also a certified developer for AWS and Azure, and I'm also have certifications in other areas like virtualization and also Scrum management, Agile stuff. So very quickly, a little background about me, and obviously today we're going to talk about disconnected workflows. So one of the first thing I want to raise is about how we can take viewer offline. Oh, sorry, this is not the slide. Let me very quickly go to the slide about viewer. No, not this one. Yeah, this one. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to make viewer working when you don't have access to the internet. The reason why we want to pay very much attention to this is that it is not exactly compliant with the developer's agreement to sort of download the viewer script and then host them from your local storage or from your own server or even from the client itself. This is explicitly stated here. See if you just go through the viewer script, you can see at the very top that it doesn't really allow you to download the script and host it from your own server. This is simply just against our developers agreement. There were many reasons for us to do this. One of the primary reasons being that there has been a few cases of copyright infringement against viewer and this Forge technology itself. So we just made a tough decision to really not allow hosting the script from your server, and it's technically not supported. So technically, it would be very challenging to do so as well. So yeah, moving on. But it doesn't just allow us to say host to sort of cache the viewer libraries on the client. So you can simply do so with Service Worker. For those of you who are new to Service Worker, it is basically an API that is inbuilt with almost all the modern web browsers, Chrome, Firefox, or even Internet Explorer support. They all support that API, so you can use it straight out of the box. What it does is it has a lot of features. It has a lot of different, it can serve a lot of different purposes. But one of its primary purpose that we want to achieve with it is to intercept the requests made by the browser, and in this case, is to intercept the request made by the browser to load the viewer libraries from our server, and then cache it in your browser. And obviously, when we cache it, we use another API. It's called the Cache API, and these two APIs are 100% supported by any modern browser. So you can safely use it without worrying about backward compatibility, because I think most of our users in general are at least onto like Chrome, let's say 15, or Firefox 15. So those versions are like a few years back. So we were definitely safe to use that. And when we use it to cache the the viewer libraries, what we need to do is basically just intercept the requests and then save the contents to the cache. seeing here, we have a little screenshot on the right top. So once you save those contents in the cache, and while you take the clients offline, right? The clients will still be able to load the contents back. So that's exactly how it works when the device is offline. It doesn't have access to the internet. It will still be able to load the viewer's library. And to give you a live, very basic example, this is a very great article by Pete. This is basically where you can start because it covers all the basics. You see here, it starts by giving you a very quick walkthrough of the life cycle for service worker as a whole. So you can see you have different stages where you can hook onto in your code to do stuff. Like you can simply install stuff to cache stuff during the different stages of the service worker for you to accomplish your workflow. And once your app is ready, you can just instruct the app to proceed on, to go through and to load models and carry on with your workflow. So this article is basically where you start. It covers all the basics, and there's a live sample that accompanies the article to show you how to cache not just the viewer library, but also the models as well. And so I have another article that is basically an extension, a step forward to Pete's article. And here I talk about how to make this work with your mobile device, how to even enhance your traditional web app into a PW, a progressive web app. But that's another topic, maybe for another day. But the point in this that I want to show you this article is that it has code in the article, like you see here, because with Pete's article, you would still be required to cache the libraries manually, meaning that you will need to give service workers some URLs. You need to locate the whereabouts of the viewer's library. But with my code, you don't need to do that, because the reason for us to not exactly hard code those URL is because the viewer is a very volatile library, in that we would roll out updates progressively, very aggressively, like we roll out upgrades for like maybe once every fortnight. So, and with that, we might have some URL changes. It's only very natural, right? We might have new code, new scripts, and new extensions that comes along with those upgrades. So it's probably a good idea to not hard code the URL. So this is how you do it. You do it simply after the service worker is activated, so that when you load the viewer libraries, it will automatically cache everything that conforms to a certain URL pattern, so that you don't need to worry about those URLs ever change or ever swap to another location. Okay, so here we even got a better example. So I have a tools hub here in addition to Pete's example, and there are some code here you can reference. You see here this like Pete's example, this code is completely, we have a live demo, and it's completely serverless. You see here in action how we load the viewer's library and even a model as well. When we are offline, you see the model loads up instantly, right? Instantly, because you're basically loading the viewer and the model from the browser's cache. So it loads up instantly, it's blazing fast. It doesn't need the internet networking at all. So you can simply head up to this public repo and see how we do it. And basically, if you are going to develop in Vue, this is a good starting point as well, because it has a viewer component that show you how to integrate viewer with Vue. And you can see for the service worker bit, here's how it works. It's in the plugin, I believe. Yes, we have a service worker component here, and you can see how some sample code to get you started with service worker. I'm not going to go into the details because of time, but now moving on, we have another example as well, which is in React, and this one is more basic. Let's see with the tool sub, self-evidently in its name, it has a lot of different tools, a lot of different code for little different aspects of functionality. But with this example, it's really a stripped down, very basic fundamental sample just to show you how to, sole purpose just to show you how to get started with service worker and viewer. So, and on top of that, it uses another library called Workbox, and this is made by Google. Its goal is to simplify the usage, simplify the developer experience with the service worker API. So you can see you have very friendly APIs, and what you need to do is just give it a URL pattern that you want to cache on the client side, and it will do so. And it will have different strategies for you to cache the contents as well. Say, what if you want to try the internet first, and then if the internet fails, and then fall back to cache, or try to cache first, and if the cache fails, but if the contents that you're after is not in the cache, then you simply go and fetch it from the internet. So you have different strategies, and it's very easy to do what you want to accomplish. So this is a library that I'll be recommending if you are new to service worker, because it gives you all this functionality with some single lines of code, simple lines of code. Okay, moving on. I think the next point I want to talk about is how to download the models. Because if you want to take the whole process temporarily offline, then you would definitely need the ability to load the models from your own server from the client, just not our server, right? There are a few options for you to do so. First, we have a few tools that you can use to, like say, download the models. And Pete has got a wonderful VS Code plugin for you to download the models. And he also has a command line tool for you to do the exact same thing. And also have two other tools to do it. One is online, the other is offline. And yeah, I believe there's another tool I just showed you just now, the Tools Hub. You can do so as well. There's a section in there for you to download the models. Once it's extracted, once it's translated with our service, you can download the extracted results, which is in a few possible formats: SVF, or F2D, or F3D. If you want to do it manually, like write your own code to do that, it's also possible. It is so you can simply call our service, call this endpoint to download the derivatives by its URL. And one point to note is that when downloading the SVF or F2D or any format that's supported by viewer, that could be loaded by viewer, is you will need to say, sorry, I'll open that up, is that you will need to pass the manifest. It's not a manifest that you will probably couldn't find where it is in the code, but it's in there somewhere. It's not a manifest that we normally pass, that we normally request from our endpoints, not this. See, It is a manifest that is in the extracted derivative file itself. So you'll need to unzip that file and then go through the contents and then download each and everything from there. So you can either reference the code here. I believe it's in there somewhere. I'll give you the exact link to the code right after this presentation, and so you can see how exactly to download SVF or any extracted format that's supported by viewer, or you can do so by the tools I just showed you. I'll also give you the links to those tools. And so once you download the models to your own server or to the client, you can simply load them from there. If you have already done so, and you probably know that there are two ways to load the models from your own storage. This is very simple, right? You just need to pass the URL, give the path to the model file to viewer for it to load it. Very, very simple. That all you need to be aware of, be careful with, is to host your model, or at least make the address a HTTP address so that viewer can load it. Because viewer doesn't support other protocol like file or any other protocol doesn't support that. All it supports is the HTTP or HTTPS protocol. So long as you give it an address that starts with HTTP or HTTPS, so long as you make the address like that, that will be fine. So it brings us to the interesting question of how to do so when you download all the SVF or the derivatives you extracted to your own server, but you still need to load them as if it is on our service. Sounds strange, right? But it's necessary to, like, say, consume some the AEC data. By the AEC data, that is some extra information about the model for you to be able to use some extensions, a few extensions that you need this extra information to work, like the levels extension, like the mini map extension, which is quite useful when the model supports them, right? When the model has those information, then. So how to do that? Basically, you can follow this article to like mark a situation, a scenario, mark the normal workflow that you would go through to load a model from our service. That means to use this API, the load document node API, this method, to load the model. When the model, even if the model is not with our service anymore, sorry, even if when the model is downloaded to your own service, you can still do so. All you need to do is basically just to get the manifest object, copy that, or just store it with the client or with the model, and then load it from there, and then pass it on to the document initiator, the initializer, and as a JSON object, and then you can go on to load the model from there. So one thing that you need to be careful with, that you need to do, what you gotta do, is to override the path to the model. Because even if you load the manifest object as a plain old JSON object, by default, viewer will still look for the model on our service, but it's possible to override that behavior. And once you go through all the steps, you'll be able to still use this load document node method to load a model from a location that you specified, from the client side or from your own server. And again, this gives us the ability to use a few extensions like Minimap, the document browser, and stuff like that. And if this all sounds too new and too unfamiliar to you, you'll come around that very quickly in the next few days. Okay, so I guess that's all I have to show you here. Any questions?
So let me allow them to talk.
Yeah, I think they're all allowed to talk. They just
Oh,
muted.
sorry. Yeah. Now they can, Juan and Moses, you can unmute and ask questions if you want.
They can also just type in the in the chat window.
Oh, hi, Moses here.
Hey.
I guess I haven't done this process before, so I'm not too familiar. But one question I have is once the models or the SVFs are downloaded and locally, does that mean, I'm guessing that means you no longer need the authentication to view the models?
Yes, that's right. Because you're not downloading the models from our service, right? The authentication happens when you access our service with either 2-leg or 3-leg OAuth 2 authentication, right? So once the files are downloaded, you don't have to go through that process anymore, and you can have your own authentication workflow, and that's completely up to you. So once the models are downloaded from our service to your own server, to your own storage, then it has nothing to do with Forge anymore. Yeah, so you won't need Forge services to load those models, and that alone, or authentication for that matter. So you're correct.
Another question, you showed about 2 or 3 tools to download or translate the models and download them.
Yep.
Is it possible to automate that process, like perhaps making a Forge application that downloads a model when it's translated for the model viewer? So maybe it makes a copy and downloads a copy automatically for offline viewing?
Yes, absolutely. You can either use Pete's command line tools here. He has 2 different tools for this purpose. One is the command line tool, and that's in Node. So you can use it in your backend to automate the process. And he has another library version of these tools, meaning that you can simply integrate that with your own Node backend app, so that you can automate this whole process. So that's in, so we have basically 2 tools at least in Node for you to do that. And we have another tool that's very, very popular. It's been there for a few years already, but I probably not gonna recommend you to do that because it's a little bit too complicated, too complex. So I would definitely suggest you to use Pete's command line and library tool. And those tools are both in Node. All you need to do is to reference them in your own backend, or even you can just write up a few scripts to call his tools to download the models. So this can be really very easy. The whole process can be automated with Pete's 2 tools. I'll drop you the links afterwards.
Thank you.
No worries. Is there any other questions?
Oh, actually, I do have one other question, if anyone. Yep. One thing that I've been interested in accessing are the room elements, and it appears that a certain attribute has to be turned on to see the master view or the particular phase of the model. When do these tools that download for offline, will it include the room elements?
Yes. Yes and no, actually. because the offline, but no, because the AEC, the room information is basically a JSON file. I don't think it is in the manifest in the SVF. It's actually in the manifest here. It's actually in the derivative manifest. So if you want to do that, you need to explicitly download that file from using
I believe the room. Yeah, I believe the room information will come with the property database if you have a local cache of that view, right? But you first have to translate and make sure that the room information is extracted. And once you cache that locally, everything that is on that view will be cached, right, Brian? Including the room,
no.
because room is just one more element, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, but I believe you have another to be able to, yes, because if it's just the rooms, and then that's right. But I thought he was talking about the extra AEC data.
Oh, the extra AEC data.
Yes,
no,
that's right.
I think that's a different thing.
Exactly. So that's in another manifest. That's in another JSON file. It's called the AEC data.json. I'm not sure the exact. I think yes, it's here. Yeah. So if you just call up the models manifest, the derivatives manifest, then you will see one file here. It is the AEC model.json, and its role specified as AEC.model.data. So what you need to do is download that file, and then yes, load it onto viewer. You don't need to explicitly load that file in your code, because viewer would look for that file. All you need to do is to instruct the viewer to download this file, and then we'll look for that file, whatever URL, whatever path you specify, and then you'll be fine. But you definitely need to explicitly download that file. Yes, and like Augusto pointed out, do specify in your request payload to extract this info. We have 2 articles on that point. It gives you instructions on how to extract that data first, and secondly, make sure you download the file from as specified in the manifest, and then instruct the viewer to load it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's possible offline as well. And all you need to do is just follow this article, and let's see, there's another article here that you can follow to instruct our service to extract that data. Yeah, so it's a 2-step thing: extract the data and then download it, and then you'll be able to use it offline.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, then that's it from me then. If there's no more question, you can always find me on Slack. Simply just look up my name and then hit me with questions. And I will drop the links and all what I just show you here just a minute in the Slack channel, so that you guys can yes, just go from there and build your stuff. And let me know if you have any questions. And take good care and stay safe. Cheers, everyone.
You too. Thank you.
No worries.